My ex-girlfriend started talking to her abusive ex behind my back. After I broke up with her, he ghosted her, and she tried winning me back. When I refused, she began stalking me. I met my ex-girlfriend Claire 3 years ago, and before we started dating, she told me about her past relationship. Her ex-boyfriend Kyle had been verbally and emotionally abusive, and sometimes even physically violent. After 3 difficult years, she ended the relationship. During their time together, Claire had formed a strong bond with Kyle's child, practically raising the kid. I supported her in keeping in touch with the child, but soon after their breakup, Kyle cut off all contact. For a few months, things were quiet, until the harassment began. Kyle started bombarding Claire's phone with cruel jokes, videos, and messages, claiming his child now hated her. A few nights ago, Claire and I were lying in bed when she went to the bathroom. Her phone buzzed with a notification and she asked me to check it. It was a message from Kyle. I opened it and was shocked to find they had been chatting for months as if they were close friends. The most painful part? Later that night, when Kyle texted again, she saw the notification and quickly scrolled past it, trying to hide it from me. I confronted her, but she brushed it off, saying, "He's just talking to me about his kid." A few days passed, and I decided I needed more clarity. We sat down for a serious conversation. After reading those messages, my head was spinning. I asked her why she was still talking to him. Her response stung. She told me she needed someone to vent to, someone who understood her frustrations, and apparently, I wasn't good enough for that role. She said it so nonchalantly, but it cut deep, making me feel like I wasn't the partner she could confide in. It hurt more than I thought it would. She then showed me all their messages, possibly thinking that full transparency would calm me down, but it only made things worse. I could see right through Kyle's intentions. He wasn't just talking about his kid. He was subtly flirting, trying to worm his way back into her life. He wanted to create doubts about our relationship, positioning himself as the more reliable man. What hurt even more was that Claire let him do it. She didn't defend me, didn't set boundaries, and she allowed him to cross the line. And it got worse. I found out Claire had told Kyle she suspected I had cheated on her. This was news to me. She had never mentioned this to my face, but there it was, written in black and white. Apparently, she believed I had cheated with my former boss. I used to send memes to my boss and her wife, and I helped them with weekend projects for extra cash. I always kept Claire in the loop, showing her pictures of the work, sending receipts, and even footage from their home security cameras that monitored their dogs. I had nothing to hide. Yet here she was, telling her ex something completely different. In their messages, Kyle went on about how he would have beaten me up if he was still in town. He admitted to punching walls out of frustration, spurred on by the lies Claire told him. The whole thing felt absurdly dramatic. But what hurt most was Claire's silence. She didn't correct him, didn't tell him I hadn't cheated. She let him think the worst of me, fueling his anger and allowing the threats to continue. I was devastated. No matter what I did to show Claire that I was trustworthy, it felt like it wasn't enough. She didn't trust me, and that realization broke me. I told her she had two options: cut off all contact with Kyle and commit to therapy with me, or keep talking to him and I'd walk away for good. I wasn't even sure what I wanted anymore, but I needed to know where she stood. She took hours to decide. Her hesitation spoke volumes. How could cutting ties with an abusive ex even be a question? I was stunned, and with each passing moment, I felt myself pulling further away from her. In the end, Claire chose him. She told me her only chance of reconnecting with the child was through Kyle, and that was more important to her. At that moment, I realized where her priorities lay. I told her if that's what she wanted, then good luck. I grabbed my things and walked out. I called her parents, who had always been kind to me, and explained the breakup. They were understanding and even invited me to dinner that weekend to pick up some tools I'd lent them. Despite the circumstances, they were still warm and supportive, so I agreed to join them for dinner. That night, after leaving Claire, I felt lighter, like a weight had been lifted off my chest. I knew I'd made the right decision. Update 1. Claire didn't take the breakup well. She tried contacting me nonstop, from endless calls to messages, begging me to give her another chance. I responded only once, reminding her that I'd given her an opportunity to fix things, to compromise, and work on our relationship together in therapy. But she chose Kyle and his child over me. Apparently, not long after I left, Kyle had blocked her on everything, ghosting her completely. I wasn't surprised. He had probably just used her to stir up drama and then moved on. I told Claire there would be no second chance, that I was done the moment she made her choice. I suggested she seek therapy and wished her well. After that, I blocked her on everything. That weekend, I went to dinner with her parents. It was bittersweet. They were kind and direct, urging me to be honest about what had happened. I tried to spare them the details, but they insisted on hearing everything. I told them about Kyle, the threats, the lies, and how Claire had hidden her communication with him. I even explained the ultimatum I had given her and how she had refused. To my surprise, they didn't try to convince me to take her back. They supported my decision to walk away and apologized for her actions. Her father, usually strong and stoic, looked crushed. It was hard to see him like that, knowing there was nothing I could do to fix things. After a few drinks, we reminisced about old times, laughing and crying together. Before I left, her dad gave me a firm handshake and a hug, something he had never done before. They wished me well and encouraged me to take care of myself. It felt like a chapter was closing. I had closure and I was ready to move on. I decided to take a break from dating and focus on healing. Update 2. A few months passed and life started to feel normal again. But then things took a strange turn. Claire's name started popping up in random conversations with mutual friends. People mentioned receiving strange messages from her. And I began hearing rumors of her asking around about me. At first, I brushed it off, thinking she was just struggling to move on. But then I got a call from a friend who worked at a security company. He told me Claire had inquired about surveillance equipment, specifically in an area near my home. My stomach dropped. She wasn't just having trouble letting go. She was watching me. I tried reaching out to her one last time, but she ignored my calls. Soon after, my neighbors began reporting a suspicious figure lurking around my building. I spotted someone watching me from across the street a few times, their silhouette eerily familiar. It became clear that Claire hadn't just been struggling with the breakup. She had become obsessed. Things escalated further when I learned that she had started looking for a house near mine. It was as if she was trying to disrupt every part of my life, refusing to let me move on. The final straw came when I found a note on my door one evening. It was from Claire, a rambling, incoherent message filled with accusations, threats, and desperate pleas. I immediately contacted the authorities and provided them with all the evidence I had: messages, witness accounts, and the note. Though the police got involved, Claire's behavior grew even more frantic. She began messaging my family and friends, trying to manipulate them into contacting me. It was clear that her obsession had spiraled out of control. Eventually, Claire was confronted by the police. She was told to stop her behavior or face legal consequences. Faced with the reality of criminal charges, she made the drastic decision to leave town. She moved far away and the relief was palpable. Neighbors who had seen her lurking around were glad she was gone. In the aftermath, I finally found peace. The fear and anxiety that had plagued me for months began to fade, and I was able to focus on rebuilding my life. Though the experience left scars, it also made me stronger, more resilient, and more aware of how important it is to protect my mental and emotional well-being. As time passed, I began to heal. The memories of the past remained, but they no longer haunted me. Instead, they became part of my story, a reminder of my strength and the lessons I'd learned. And as I looked toward the future, I knew I was ready to move forward, with hope for a brighter chapter ahead. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed our stories and would like to hear more, please consider subscribing to our channel. Your support helps us continue bringing you captivating tales and new content every week. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. We appreciate every one of you for being a part of our storytelling journey.